Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guest with your host, Christina Nitchman.
This is your host, Christina Nitchman. Each week, Savvy runs weekly broadcasts providing entrepreneurs and successful individuals a platform to express their dreams, hopes, lessons learned, expertise, and wisdom with the world. Our guest today is Keri, Nola, and Lloyd Burnett, talking about how fear can be used as a tool for your growth. Keri Nola is a licensed psychotherapist, clinical supervisor, entrepreneur, radio show host, and author of 2 self-help titles. Find out more about Keri at kerinola.com. Lloyd Burnett is a life coach, spiritual teacher, writer, and self-proclaimed David Copperfield of Getting You Unstuck. Lloyd shows people how to get out of their head and into the flow of prosperity, peace, and abundance. Find out more about Lloyd at lloydburnett.com. Also, to find out more about Keri and Lloyd's upcoming workshop in October 2015, visit theawakenedhealer.com. Hi, Keri. Hi, Lloyd. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Hey there.
Hey, hi, Keri. Welcome back. You've been here before, but Lloyd, you're welcome. I'm so glad to have you both here because today you're going to share a little bit about what you're working on in October. You have a big retreat coming up, and you're going to share some of your knowledge and gifts that you're also going to go much, much deeper on when you have your retreat. But before we get started, share with our audience a little bit about how you came to partnering together and working together and what you're all about.
Absolutely. Lloyd, do you want me to lead the way? Because I feel like our love affair and our magical alchemy of work started with my telesummit, right?
It sure did. Go ahead, you get started.
Yeah, so a few years ago, a mutual friend connected me with Lloyd and said that he was a brilliant health coach and just wellness warrior, and he felt like our gifts would really go well together. So I reached out to Lloyd, and I was doing this telesummit on that was correlating with my first book about our path to becoming our whole self. And it was an immediate connection, and just really knew that his voice needed to be represented on this summit. And the rest is kind of history, to be honest with you. We've just evolved from there and grew a coaching program together, and then integrated that into a business where we now lead healing retreats all over the world, helping people to wake up to the truth of who they are and really what soul mission they're on the planet to birth and to bring into being.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love hearing that story because it always gives me the chills when I think about how we met, because it was all so divinely inspired. But, Keri, there's one part you left out.
Are we going there? I wasn't sure if we were getting into all that.
We are going there. Since we're talking a little bit about fears and procrastination, might as well start with the fears that I'll speak for myself. Keri and I, we always say, don't speak French, because one of us will be like, we, saying like, we did this, we were scared, and we like to speak for ourselves. So I won't speak French, I'll speak for myself. But when Keri contacted me for the telesummit, I was scared out of my mind, and I didn't call her back. I didn't return her emails, and I tried to make it look like I was super important. And I was like, what does this world-renowned author want with me on her telesummit? So I had all of these fears that almost kept us completely separate and almost, got in the way of us co-creating what we have co-created over the past 2 years. So it wasn't until probably a couple months into us talking that we both sat down and talked about the fears that both of us had. And it turns out she had some of the same fears as me. So from the very beginning, we were working on fears and procrastination together to be able to get to this point where we're co-facilitating live retreats for people all around the world.
Well, I really love that you just went there with the fear and procrastination, because even the best of us who maybe don't procrastinate as much, or we think we don't, it's interesting how fear becomes such a big element in blocking our path to success, and sometimes we don't even realize it. how can fear and procrastination actually be a bad thing, or how can it be used as a good thing, actually, as a tool to help you through the blocks and help you grow to the next level?
Yeah, so fear is something really special. A lot of people like to look at fear and procrastination in its essence is fear. And so a lot of people like to look at it as such a bad thing, a negative thing that you need to overcome, that you need to get rid of, that you can't have to be successful. But the way that I've come to see fear and love fear is because it's a roadmap. It's a roadmap to all of the things that want attention, all of the things that want released, all of the parts of you that are terrified of being successful, of growing your business, of being seen, of being heard, terrified of failure, of rejection, of criticism. Fear is the roadmap for it guides you back to those parts so that you can support those parts and begin to release whatever it is that is holding you back. Because, when in your business, when you have a fear of, say, for example, I had a fear of contacting Keri in the beginning of our relationship, and my fear had nothing to do with Keri. It felt like it had everything to do with Keri, but once I started to allow that fear to guide me back to my own issues of self-worth, my own issues of abandonment and things like that, that's when the real healing began to occur. And that's when I was finally able to reach out to Keri and to begin this incredible business relationship that we have. So fear guided me back. I could have said, oh no, I'm going to ignore this fear. If I had ignored that fear, then I would have remained paralyzed in my business. But I decided to allow fear to guide me back to what the real issue was, what was really causing me to be stagnant and paralyzed in my business.
So just to clarify, it's really not so much trying to push or resist against it and say, no, naughty fear, I don't want to feel that, but really to use it as a tool and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? What is the core issue underneath it? Peeling back the layers and saying, oh, this is about self-worth, or this is about XYZ, and getting clear on that.
You got it perfectly right there. It's about easing into it, leaning into it instead of running away from it, because it's a gift for you. Fear is there to support you, not to sabotage you or to ruin you. And so it's like you have this huge gift, and you can choose to ignore it, or you can accept it and allow it to take you to even higher levels of consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And just as you, Keri, how does fear relate to procrastination?
Well, really, they're like brother and sister. So, you've got that fear, and then procrastination is the manifestation of fear. So that's what we do, one of the things that we do when we're afraid. And I love to think of it, if we try to bulldoze fear, we actually can end up inadvertently self-sabotaging, which even that is fine if you're willing to see the pattern and to bring some compassion to what it is that it is trying to show you. So it's such a huge part of me and Lloyd's work, is that you really can't take a wrong turn on your path. When we're trying to get it right and we're trying to reach, we believe this illusion that there's only one way to get to our quote unquote end result that we're trying to reach. It's this fantasy land where if you just keep taking whatever turn feels right in the moment, or maybe it doesn't feel right and you force yourself to take it anyway. Like you can't not end up where you're meant to land. And you might take the scenic route. Other times you take a shortcut, but you ultimately get there. And I think that's really the partnership between fear and procrastination, is learning to dance with them, and to know that sometimes the dance is going to be graceful and it's going to feel good and you're going to know the steps. And other times, you're going to be clueless and it's going to feel really awkward and uncomfortable. And can that be okay as we kind of move forward and bring our work into the world?
So really, if just to understand, is it really when we kind of don't fight against it that it does flow more easily? Because I'm sure everyone listening in is like, how can I get past the uncomfortable, not fun part where things are not working out so well and have it be a little bit more flowy? Is it kind of just letting fear not take hold of you, but really not kind of pushing against it, and using it as a tool?
Yeah, for me, that's what I've seen for myself in my business with Lloyd and my own business and with the entrepreneurs that I coach and support. It's the willingness to be in the truth of whatever is. If I'm terrified and I try to pretend like I'm not, that just creates more resistance and more, forcing. So if I just say, I'm really scared right now, and I sit with the part of me that's afraid and I find out why they're afraid and what do they need from me. So we use the term a lot in our work, supervising or witnessing our fears. So that our fear doesn't drive the bus of our business or our soul mission without us, but we are, holding fear in the passenger seat as we drive from a very conscious and mindful space, which doesn't happen 100% of the time. I don't think that's the point of our human journey, but yet the more consciousness and awareness we can bring to those patterns, the more flow I think we begin to feel in the process.
So to ask both of you, what are some of the ways our listeners and those out there listening can gauge and identify if fear and procrastination are indeed playing a role in their business and life? And if they identify that it is, what can they do to start to change that and put themselves back in the driver's seat?
That is a great question. And one of my favorite things to do with fears, to identify your fears and to begin working in partnership with your fears, is to create something that I call a fear board. We all know these intention boards. Everybody loves to say their intentions, to make goals, to make vision boards and things like that, whatever you're into. But what about the fears? What about making a list of all of your fears, a board of all of your fears, going one by one through your intentions and saying, say, for example, your intention is to build a multi-million-dollar company. If I build a multi-million-dollar company, I'm afraid that. And just allow all of the fears to come to you. I'm afraid that I won't be able to spend time with my family. I'm afraid that I'll be more vulnerable to criticism and rejection. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose everything and people are going to laugh at me. Allow the fears to come to you, because it's those fears that are actually blocking your intentions. It's those fears that are actually fueling the procrastination, because procrastination is stalling. All right. Mm-hmm. So there's a part of you that is afraid. And so you distract, you procrastinate with shiny object syndrome, which is like getting all these different ideas and never finishing anything. You stall so that you don't have to face that imaginary fear that a part of you believes is going to happen in the future. So one of the biggest tips that I like to give people is to get everything out onto paper. Create a fear board. You do your intention board, go one by one through your intentions and say what you're afraid of when you actually achieve that intention.
Wow, Lloyd, that is really, really insightful and deep. And this recalls for me, my mentor had asked me recently to write down what are my truest desires and what do you think is stopping you from your truest desire, and just asking really good questions. And he kept asking more and more questions, going deeper and deeper, till finally I realized an issue I thought I'd completely resolved years ago back in corporate, which was this unresolved issue of always wanting to find others outside myself to give me a pat on the back or give me that self-worth outside myself. And I found out that even today through business dealings, I'm still like looking for my clients to give me that pat or give me that self-worth outside myself. So it was very, very like revealing to me, like, wow, I still have that going on. And so I can see what you're getting at right there, that by really going deeper and building this board, this fear board, and asking these deeper questions, that you can figure out really what's going on in the background.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can do exactly as you're doing. You can support those parts. It's not that those fears go away. We still have fears. Fears are necessary. They keep us growing. They're the contraction to our expansion. But when you have them out and you know the truth, you can support those parts. So in your business, when you have a part of you wants to get pat on the back from a client, you can sit there and you can help that part of you investigate that rather than try to ignore it or stay in the dark. You can bring it out into the open so it doesn't stop you, but it actually helps you move forward.
So in essence, you're looking at fear as a gift and then using that gift to actually help you move forward.
Exactly. It's part of the whole. It's the contraction to the expansion. You can't have expansion unless you have contraction. And fear is that contraction.
Yeah, I like that. Because we often think we just want to be in the positive. But if you're always in positive, you're never going to know when you're in positive because you never have negative. You kind of need that back and forth, the contraction.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the fear board is so powerful too, because I think it's about unwrapping the fear. And I like to let people know that there's nothing you have to do with it once it arrives, other than just let it know that you're there with it. You see it, you hear it, you're there, holding it. You know, I think we're waiting for some magical step or tool or something we have to do. And I think so much of what we talk about is getting into the art of being rather than doing. And when your fear arrives and you can just hold it with a mindful, compassion and just be there with it, that's really all it needs. And one of the, I think, signs that fear and procrastination are being unsupervised in your business is when you are in that such a distracted state that you're not really able to be with yourself. You're like waiting for that moment when fear is no longer a part of your business. Like, I'll start when I'm not afraid anymore. But the irony of that is, fear lets us know that we're right on the verge. We're standing there at that opportunity to really surrender into what we're here to do. And if we can ask ourselves, find those parts within us where we're buying into that story that we're going to not be afraid at some point, and then it's time to jump. It's actually the opposite. The more afraid I am, that's usually the closer that I am to really bringing something into being.
Wow, that is amazing. And how many times have I said myself, and I'm sure many other business owners have said, how do I do this? Just show me how to do this. I'll do it. It's the how and the do. And then instead of saying, okay, let's just stop and say, where am I being? Who am I being right now? Maybe should be a better question we should ask at any given moment.
Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. Who am I? And can I love all aspects of myself? I was just on a coaching call this morning and it kind of came up, we're in the flow when we can equally love the ebbs and the flow. It's like we just like the flowing part, but it's like a season. It's like, maybe I prefer summer more than winter, but it's like when you can love the reality of all the seasons equally, like that's freedom. Because if you only enjoy the flow of your business, then you miss the gifts and opportunities that exist in the ebbs of your business, because it's an equally important aspect of the process. And it's what really propels you into the flow. We can't do one without the other. Like Lloyd said, with the contraction and the expansion. It's like trying to bring a baby into the world without having any contractions. That really doesn't, you need that contraction. It pushes your gift out into the world.
And I don't know about either of you, but I find that some of the most struggling parts of my life have been the greatest times of growth in my life. So I want to ask you something, Keri, is regarding surrender. What exactly does that look like? Because people, often I feel it's like just giving up on something. But what is the difference between giving up and just surrendering?
Yeah, to me, surrender is the complete opposite of giving up. It's acknowledging, it's just leaning into the reality of whatever is. It's being so present and so in. To me, surrender is being all in. It's saying, I lean in. I think we think surrender of like leaning back or leaning out or giving up. To me, it's about coming fully in and saying, show me, reveal to me what's next. Let me wake up within me and honor whatever's here.
I love that. Yeah. And surrender for me is the same thing. It's this idea of power. We believe that when we surrender, we're powerless, but it's actually the opposite. When we surrender, we're standing in our power. We're allowing what is to fuel us, to move us forward, to help us evolve rather than fighting against it. Because the thing is, everything is a gift. Everything that happens in your life, everything that happens around you is happening for you rather than to you. So when you surrender to it, you actually harness the power of all of these things that are happening for you. So rather than becoming weak, you become incredibly powerful, which is your inherent nature.
It's really interesting, but definitely a distinct difference. And what I'm getting from it, it's really the leaning in and listening deeply to the whisper of, it might be God talking to you in a many variety of different ways, in which, what I notice is that if you are just stuck on something like, I have to push this, I have to make this happen, if I just push forward, and it just doesn't happen, you get stuck. But when you lean in and say, okay, I can't figure this out. I really, truly, I don't know. And then just listen and wait. And then sometimes the greatest answers can come to you when you're not trying to push and force them to come on out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's when you allow. You allow these things to unfold. It's kind of like you, instead of just using the power that you believe you have in your human self, you use all of the power that is available in the universe when you allow. It's like, either I'm going to do this all on my own, or I'm going to do this in collaboration with the universe, my higher power, however you want to describe it.
Wow, because I think sometimes we make our lives so much harder by trying to push forward and getting stuck. So I'm sure both of you have worked through similar challenges of breaking through and overcoming your own fear and procrastination in your life and in your business. How did you set about triumphing over the blocks that you had in particular?
Yeah, for me, this is something that I'm present with every single day. So I don't think of it as a past tense, like I have triumphed over it or transcended it. What I think I am working on, and what I will always be working on, is showing up to my life and my business each and every day with a willingness to be curious about the ways that my fears are manifesting into reality, and being willing to look at how I'm distracting myself, how I'm playing small. That's the other thing about fear and procrastination. They're another way of playing small, of pretending that I don't have value to give, of pretending that what I have to say and these whispers that I'm getting aren't important, or that the world doesn't need to hear them. It's this false notion that we aren't here with purpose and with power and with reason. And I think I meet that every day and allow it to be a part of my process. Like, I'm not expecting to not be afraid anymore. I'm not expecting to never procrastinate again. I'm not, those things to me are illusions of the human self, but I realize that I'm here having a human journey as a spiritual being and trying to be mindful of my spiritual resources, of the way that I can tap into the collective consciousness and use my fears as a way to get me closer to revealing what it is that I'm here to do.
Yeah. And for me, I remember a distinct moment when I decided to allow my dark parts or fearful parts to be a part of all of my relationships and to be a part of my work. And there's this one moment that I'm thinking of where I was invited to speak at a conference. And for some reason, I don't know why, I was absolutely terrified when I got up on stage. And I'm a rock star on the stage. I can work a crowd like no other. I'm telling you, I'm really good at it. And so I got up there and I was terrified. And so what I did was, what actually came to mind was, there's this story of this monk who was speaking in front of people, and he got up there and he was really nervous, and he just started naming things. I'm scared. I'm terrified. I'm jealous that the other guy was speaking so eloquently. And so I decided, oh my God, I'm going to allow my fear to be a part of this conference because it's a part of me right now. And so I got up there, and the first things that I said was, a part of me is terrified. A part of me is afraid that you're going to judge me and think that these ideas that I have are so woo-woo. A part of me is embarrassed to be sitting next to this woman who had this, 7-figure launch and is talking about manifestation, and I haven't had a 7-figure launch. And when I allowed myself to be fully present, my light and my dark, oh my goodness, the barriers, the walls came down, and I connected from my heart with everybody in that audience, and got a standing ovation, got invited to speak in other places. And it was just an absolutely incredible moment when I realized the true gifts, the actual physical gifts of my fear.
Wow. So can I ask you, you actually said out to the audience, you voiced out loud your fears?
I sure did.
Wow.
I sure did. And it's interesting because it's not always necessary to disclose the information about yourself or disclose your fears to be able to have them exist in your relationships. But in this moment, it felt absolutely necessary to allow my fears to exist in the relationship because I could feel the fears of everybody else in the audience. All of their questions were based in fear, but they weren't allowing themselves to acknowledge those fears. They were trying to stay positive and trying to just bulldoze those fears. So I decided in that moment that it was very important to allow myself to be completely vulnerable and share who I was in that moment and show them what it looked like to accept all of you and allow all of you to be a part of your relationships.
Wow. Wow, that is amazing. I like that staying positive thing because I had someone on last year and we talked about how often business owners want to paint to the world and to themselves, oh, my business is rocking, it's rolling, it's all awesome. But when you get them alone in a dark room, they're like, okay, I'm scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not where I want to be. and they don't want to tell the world. They don't want to tell their family. They want to look like, at least portray outwardly that things are fabulous, but they're scared to death. Mm-hmm. And I love that you mentioned that because I think as a community, all business owners, if we come together and just admit, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I'm scared. This is not working. What do y'all think? And then everyone will be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling the same thing. Yeah, this isn't working or this is working. And I think we could be a lot more helpful to each other.
Yeah. And Lloyd, I remember when you came back from that experience and we were kind of processing and debriefing. And one of the things that stuck out for me that you shared was about the permission that your vulnerability gave the audience to you reflected back to them, just like you're saying now, Christina, that permission of if we're all just walking around pretending like we're not scared and we got this and we're rocking, it's like, well, all of us are feeling the fear by ourselves. And I think, and that's why me and Lloyd love doing live events and community, because healing happens in community. It happens when that magical moment when you think you're the only one that has these seemingly crazy thoughts and ideas and fears. And then you sit with somebody and they're like, me too. And that's where that connection happens. That's where you really grow and you begin to collaborate. And in businesses, I think there's such an energy of competition rather than collaboration. And the new energies on the planet right now are really about, hey, let's do this together. Let's really, team up. Let's support one another. Let's elevate each other's messages and figure out how we can do that. And I think owning our fears in the presence of one another is one of the ways that we make those connections and we stop feeling so separate. I love Lloyd used that earlier. We stop separating ourselves from each other and we start connecting and joining and supporting.
I really love that you hit on that, Keri, because I think our culture really loves to emulate competition and say, oh, that's how it should be. Business competition. That's how you get to the top. And actually, I don't believe in the bootstrap thing that anyone gets to the top by themselves because actually they don't. They get there with the help of a bunch of other people. And if you build a company, you have employees, you have people to help you get there. So I think you're absolutely right that the idea of coming together in community, we can all help each other a lot quicker, get our gifts and talents out to the world and serve the world and each other a lot better than it's me against the world.
Yes.
Yeah. So guys, I don't want us to leave before everyone finds out about how they can find out about your upcoming retreat, which is going to take place on October 23rd through the 25th. Please let them know more about it and how they can find out and participate if they're in the area.
Sure. So we are gathering at a luxurious resort in sunny San Diego, California for a weekend healing experience. And we're calling all healing entrepreneurs or ready to be birthed healing entrepreneurs to join us. And we're not talking business strategy. We're not talking, technique and tools. We're talking about how to raise the vibration of the work that you're on the planet to do, whether you're doing it now, whether you have a vision of doing it. We'll be doing, sacred ceremony and ritual, group discussion and imagery, and really just holding that sacred space for you to lean into the fullness of who you are and the divine mission that you're here to activate. And with the support of this community, we really envision that you leave and you feel more connected to the work that you're here to do, and you feel clearer about allowing the next steps to reveal themselves to you as well.
Yeah, and you feel clearer about the parts of you that are terrified and that stop you from building your business. You feel more connected to the parts of you that are terrified to shine and to allow themselves to be seen and to be heard. And so as you feel more connected to these parts, you're able to work with the fears, and rather than have the fear grip you and keep you stagnant and stuck in your healing business, the fear actually, it propels you. It's that you allow it to be that contraction to your expansion so that you can fully be yourself in your business.
Mm. Oh, we did that in unison.
That's when you know we're like in an inspired moment. The whole world can feel the awe. Yeah, and we would be so honored to hold that space for you if in listening today you would like to dive deeper into getting to know and meet your fears and the parts of you that are ready to come online to really support you in elevating the work that you're doing. And the website to learn more about all this goodness is theawakenedhealer.com.
Wow, theawakenedhealer.com. It's so awesome. And what I'm getting here, and I've recalled for myself that I've gone to healing groups like this for a weekend, a retreat, and it's something different about, being in the grind of every day in your business or in your life, and you get stuck because you are used to doing things the same way every day. You get up and you push ahead doing things exactly as you did them the day before. And you can't see another way. But sometimes removing yourself from that space and taking it to a community where you can get outside of your normal grind, and then you can start to see that there is another path, that there is other choices for you that you could take.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That is perfect. I got the image of like a foggy mirror when you're in your own grind, your own routine. It's like you can't see in the mirror. You can't see what's being reflected back to you because it's so foggy. But when you go into a new community and you step into something different, there's a crystal clear mirror for you to look in and finally see what's being reflected back to you, what's holding you back, what's keeping you stuck.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for coming to Savvy Central Radio and sharing your very important work and your wisdom today.
Thank you so much for having us, Christina.
Savvy Central Radio is home to over 100,000 listeners per month globally and runs in syndication on 8 AM and FM platforms, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out more about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out to the world, call 718 area code 713-2289 or email at savvycentralradio@gmail.com.